Welcome everyone. As a follow-up on my video about ableism, I wish to talk to you about issues I encountered with past employers which triggered my autism. I realize that some of these things are considered normal. However, in my opinion they should not be. Where normal people can ignore or pretend not to see or be affected by them, for me they raise my anxiety levels to a point where I feel the need to start stimming and experience meltdowns, eventually leading to the point where my employers got wind of things I did in the past or more recent, and as direct result of the situations I encountered at work. This often resulted in the fact that I was asked to leave and got several months of paid leave, so I could look for a new job. I could and maybe should have challenged it, as firing someone over what he or she does in their private life is tricky, and I might have gotten more money out of it, but as an autist I am not very good in speaking up for myself and chose to go with the flow and move on. There have also been employers who did it right, who saw my talents and gave me the space and protection to fully utilize my talents. I will mention those as well as I go over the past employers I worked for. Let's start with the first company that asked me to leave due to what I did in my private life. Access for All. The most hypocritical name there is, but that is something for another video. When I came to Access for All, I was trained as a technical support agent and was told that it was just providing support to customers and later small businesses. However, Access for All got in bad weather, as some of you might know, and after a few years they started to tell us that we needed to start selling other services to the customers, after we had helped them solve their issue. Besides the fact that it was not what I initially signed up for, promised or trained, asking people things to buy in which they might or might not be interested in is not something I do well. It gives me a lot of anxiety and stress to bring it up every time. Added to it, you got bad scores if you did not sell enough. Though doing a bit of after sales is not uncommon with call centers, this was just not the agreement, and without the proper training and guidance, it led to several issues when I got home. Funnily enough, I was not asked to leave due to anything I did recently, but because some homophobic bitch on sales felt uncomfortable working with a gay and HIV positive colleague who did some prostitution on the side. So far for the Access for All part. Second company I wish to mention is the Mediamarkt. They actually did a lot of things right, and I wish to mention that as well. Not sure how I actually got there, as I do not like sales, but I got to work on the computer accessory department, and they soon discovered that I am a damn hard worker. My hyper focus on things made it so that I was very fast and neat when stacking up a large amount of products, making sure things were straight and in the right order. They actually did find out what I did in my private life and in my past. However, the manager of the section I worked in stood up for me, as I basically did the work for two people, and even though I sold hardly anything myself, they made it so that my private life became a non-topic. Unfortunately, they were not honest with my contract and promises of improvement after a year, so I had to leave by myself. Maybe not the best decision in my life, however, so be it. After that I got a job at the Woonexpress, a part of the Mandenmakers chain and cult. Though I knew I was not good at sales, they promised me they could give me training and teach me how to sell a kitchen. Side note, I sold 2 entire kitchens while working there. However, the store was new and there was not much sales training done. What was asked of us was to sign up friends and family to their mailing list so they could spam them with special deals. This gave me several issues. For one, I do not like to work after hours. Second, my friends list is private, and when I made that known to the boss, I could leave as I did not have the right attitude. The fourth company would be Veenstra Verwarmingen, where I called for the consumer market. And where to start here? This was one of the biggest dramas I ever encountered. We had several team meetings cause some employer got issues with everyone else, creating a lot of stress. Other issue was that there were 2 planners who made a schedule for the mechanics to do their rounds, who both had different methods and ways how they wished we planned things in their schedule, resulting in the fact that you were constantly switching between 2 ways you put orders in the system, and if you did it wrong, you got scorned and yelled at by either of the 2 planners, or usually the female of the 2. These lack of directions, management unwilling to create a uniform way of doing things, and the constant threat of being yelled at gave me one of my worst work experience ever, resulting in the fact that my need for stimming and the amount of meltdowns I had reached a peak in those days. Suffice to say, when they found out, I could leave with a few months of pay in my pocket. This was the first time I actually got dismissed due to my actually anxiety attacks and meltdowns that were caused by situations at work. The next employer I ended up with was Yourcash, a company that provides subpar cash terminals to small businesses who want to provide an extra service to their customers. You used to see their machines in small supermarkets and places where the banks pulled away their ATMs. As mentioned, these machines were either very old or the cheapest version out of a range of ATMs they could get. As pushing more machines out was more important than keeping your customers happy, we ended up with connections issues, figures that did not match, and major design flaws in the latest machines. Which isn't an issue by itself for me, but what was an issue is the fact that we had to fight with the head office in the United Kingdom to be heard and even believed. It forced us to make up excuses to our clients and blatantly lie in some occasions, as we were struggling to get issues through to HQ. Something I do not well. Funny thing though, in my first year I was awarded as the most helpful call center employee of that year. A few months later I was asked to go without clear reason. I assume they found out what I did in private as to cope with the stress the work gave me. But the head of the Dutch office which laid me off did not have the guts to mention it directly into my face. And then we end up with my last employer, Concentrix or Convergys. They were merging when I worked there. Big companies like Bosch Power Tools hire them to set up their call center for them. And now let me be clear, there is nothing wrong with Bosch Power Tools. I have worked great with their trainers and staff. However, Convergys is a company that promises too much and is unwilling to make the investments and efforts needed to actually fulfill their obligations. After the training period, I was directly promoted to senior, as I was one of the few who took the training serious, but placed me into a position where I had to lie and hide stuff from Bosch as not to compromise Convergys. Lying, as mentioned before, is not my strong point. And to make matters worse, they also treated their personnel as if they are a bunch of dumb fucks. There were certain male features promised to Bosch with the current version of the programs Convergys used, but were not able to do so. However, if you simply buy the add-ons and rights to the needed extensions, it would not have been an issue. I worked with better versions of the same system before in that situation. However, when asked the head of the office why we didn't do that, they blatantly lied into my face, telling me that it was technically not possible. Which is just a lie, cause I know the program, I knew better. It's just a matter of cash and wanting it. This form of disrespect and treatment does not fare well with me. This creates a feeling of resentment, a lasting resentment, added anxiety and stress when I would like to tell Bosch more about how they were being swindled, yet was not allowed to, from those that paid my salary. Last company I wish to mention is actually the first company I worked for, and they did things right. The party company in Amsterdam saw my talents for maintaining a schedule, being able to direct, instruct, train and guide people, as well as being a dedicated worker. The company had a very open culture, and when it was busy, the boss himself did not mind putting on his cooking gear and work on the parties themselves under whoever managed that party. Hard work, dedication and respect towards each other, while being able to tell each other the truth, if so needed without additional consequences, allowed me to become one of the youngest party managers at the party company that time. Added to that, they accepted my side job as a male prostitute and the array of options I offered. They also accepted the fact that around that time I became HIV positive. I ended up being responsible for parties up to 350 persons, with up to 20 personnel members at the time. They did not judge me for my private affairs, but judged me on my capacities and delivered results. Unfortunately, the party company is no more. But I hold some of my fondest work-related memories from that period in my life. As mentioned at the start of the video, a lot of you will say that these things just happen. That is normal in modern society. But that does not make it right. One of my autist issues is that I get really triggered if things are unclear or unfair, or when people lie or don't do the things they are supposed to do. And though most will agree with me that things should not be unclear, unfair, and people should not lie and just do what they are supposed to do, we all accept it in our work environment from our direct colleagues. And where normal people can dismiss these things as part of life, or have their own ways to cope with them, it gives me a lot of stress and anxiety which I need to release one way or the other. The issue for me is that these problems hit me harder than it hits normal people, and how I need to deal with them is more problematic due to not having proper guidance because of a late diagnosis. My way of dealing with things is very negative and risky for both my health and privacy. And I know it's an autistic thing, but we do not accept or like it when people lie to you or are unclear or unfair in our private life. How can we accept it from those who should be professional and get paid for what they do? Our employers, big companies, our politicians. Making the world more accessible and more pleasant for persons like me who have autism is also making the world better and more pleasant for normal people like you. By standing up against the lying, the scheming, the plotting, the cheating we endure day by day by big companies, the politicians and all. The dishonesty we accept in daily society should not be accepted. This will help both you and me. And with that I will end this video. I could go on about the things on how I got laid off and the exact procedures, and I might do that in another video in order to not make this video too long. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and share this video with those who might be interested. For the autists watching this video, please let me know in the comments if you can relate or not. I'd love to know.